Storm Anthony hits the UK. With a danger to life warning, heavy rain and strong winds have battered the country, ruining holidays for thousands and threatening businesses.
We've owned the campsite now for 16 years and it's probably the worst year of weather we've had this year, to be honest with you.
Also on the programme, former Pakistan Prime Minister Imran Khan is given a 3-year sentence for corruption. Ukraine's new tactic, a sea drone hits a Russian tanker in an overnight attack. And
England are going to the final of the World Cup.
For the first time ever, England net themselves a place in the World Cup final.
This is ITV News with Kylie Pentelow.
Good evening. A danger to life warning is still in place for parts of the country as Storm Anthony batters the UK with heavy rain and 65-mile-an-hour winds. Potential damage to buildings and trees is forecast. It's also causing havoc for hundreds of thousands of holidaymakers, festival goers and for sporting events. Some businesses, many still struggling after COVID, fear it could possibly push them over the edge. But despite the unseasonably miserable forecast, many people are still determined to enjoy themselves, whatever the weather. As Lewis Warner now reports.
The summer sun went somewhere else today, Bournemouth Beach looking more like a winter wonderland, as predicted gusts of up to 65 miles per hour battered the southwest coast, accompanied by vicious, sporadic downpours, forcing those who braved the beach to find shelter.
Well, I think it's a great place to shelter. We've been able to eat together and just have fun.
It's not what we expect, but God has been faithful. The children have had a fantastic time. They've had time in the water, so they've enjoyed themselves.
On a normal August day, this beach would be packed, but such is the unseasonable weather, the Met Office has named its first storm of the season, only the third time it's ever done so in August.
The reason we've got all of this unsettled weather is because of where the position of the jet stream is. And so at the moment, we've kind of got the jet stream generally to our south, but at the moment it's kind of bringing these lows across the UK. So that's why we've got Storm Anthony affecting us.
In North Yorkshire, a car was caught in flash flooding, filmed here near the seaside resort of Whitby. And in nearby Robin Hood's Bay, water was seen gushing through the streets. Brighton's Pride Parade wasn't blown off course though, thousands still turning out and clinging on.
You've got the hardest job.
And at glorious Goodwood, the ladies swapped their fascinators for umbrellas. But the prospect of Storm Anthony causing havoc with their holidays was not enough to put off these happy campers in Poole.
We're going to be absolutely fine, aren't we? We've got extra pegs all around our tent. We've got all our guy ropes out and
extra blankets to keep us warm.
How do you feel about that, knowing you're going to be in your tent?
You're worrying me now, yeah. I think we're going to spend time going to a local supermarket then and stocking up on provisions and just making sure that everything's nailed down.
Yeah, lots of tent pegs today.
Lots of tent pegs, yeah.
But it's not as if today was the first disappointing day for summertime industries this year.
We've owned the campsite now for 16 years and it's probably the worst year of weather we've had this year. March and April were the poorest we've had. July we're about 10% down and we're very hopeful August will continue now because hopefully there's a break in the weather on the way.
A break in the bad weather is what they want and what they need. But for now, the sun is still off on its own holiday.
So, Lewis, how is it out there now?
Well, some let up this evening, but that yellow weather warning for wind and thunderstorms remains in place for much of the south of England, and that amber weather warning for wind remains in place for the west of Wales and the southwest of England as well. That's until 7 o'clock tonight. And the RAC says going forward, though, drivers should really be on the lookout for any obstacles that might be in the way, like fallen trees, because of course that could cause some pretty big damage. And that jet stream as well that we know is causing this problem is expected to move north next week, bringing with it some much needed warmer air, but even forecasters aren't so sure exactly how long that's going to last.
OK, Lewis Warner, thank you very much. Former Pakistan Prime Minister Imran Khan has been given a 3-year jail sentence over corruption allegations, which he denies. The former cricket star was found guilty of not declaring money earned from selling gifts he received in office. In a pre-recorded statement, he urged his supporters to fight against the ruling, which he plans to appeal. Vincent McAviney reports.
Ever since he was ousted from office last year in a no-confidence vote after falling out with Pakistan's powerful military, Imran Khan's legal woes have mounted. Today, the former Prime Minister was taken into custody here at his home in Lahore after a court in Islamabad found him guilty of not declaring money he had earned from selling state gifts. In response, he released a pre-recorded message with a call to action. You should not stay at home, as I am not doing this struggle for myself. I'm doing it for my nation, for you, for the future of your children. You don't rise for your rights, you will live the life of slaves. In an interview with ITV News last month, Khan predicted his incarceration.
90% chances I'll be behind bars. So I am all mentally prepared that, there's a possibility tomorrow night and onwards I will be spending in jail.
Today's verdict is centred on charges that he incorrectly declared details of presents from foreign dignitaries and proceeds from their alleged sale. The gifts, reported to be worth hundreds of thousands of pounds, included Rolex watches, a ring and a pair of cufflinks. Mr. Khan denies the charges, which he claims are politically motivated, and says he will appeal. But he's facing more than 100 cases brought against him since his removal, for charges including corruption, terrorism and inciting violent political protests against the government and military. Since being ousted, Mr. Khan has been campaigning for early elections in the country, but this conviction would disqualify him from standing for office, possibly forever. But in a colourful life which has seen him springboard from World Cup winning cricket star to playboy and then statesman, the evident suppression of supporters tonight across Pakistan, heeding Khan's call, might foretell difficult days ahead for the nation. Vincent McAviney, ITV News.
The US Justice Department has asked a court for a so-called protective order against former President Donald Trump to stop him publicly revealing evidence against him, and because of fears he could intimidate potential witnesses. Follows comments he posted on his social media platform yesterday saying, "If you go after me, I'm coming after you." The order would limit what information Mr. Trump and his legal team could share publicly about the case. And police in New York have condemned an American YouTuber who could face charges for inciting a riot after a giveaway he organised ended in chaos. Live streamer Kylie fled the event in his car as crowds desperate for free PlayStations climbed on vehicles and scaled buildings. He and 60 other people were arrested. A Russian tanker in the Black Sea has been hit by a sea drone, the second such attack in 24 hours. Moscow say Ukraine was responsible and described it as a terror attack. The seaborne drone is said to have damaged the ship's engine room, but Russia says there were no casualties. Callum Watkinson reports on what seems to be a growing new tactic in the war for Ukraine.
An unmanned Ukrainian vessel packed with explosives makes its way towards a Russian tanker. And when it hits, it's a second success in 24 hours for a brand new battlespace technology.
This is very unusual. There's been a lot of experience with uncrewed aerial vehicles. The United States, of course, has used those extensively in Iraq and Afghanistan, and many other countries have now taken to using them. But this is really one of the first times that uncrewed surface vessels have been used in warfare.
This picture on one of the drones from a Russian website shows it's lightweight with cameras and GPS on the front and the payload taking up the bulk of the vessel. Detonators on the front trigger the charge on impact. Their effectiveness speaks for itself. This was a Russian landing vessel half sunk by a similar weapon the day before. No pictures yet of this tanker post-attack, but the Russians said it was a civilian vessel and called this strike terrorism. There can be no justification for such actions, said a Foreign Ministry spokeswoman. They will not go unanswered and their authors and perpetrators will inevitably be punished. The Black Sea is becoming a key theatre of this war, and as drones in the air came to be associated with the conflict in Afghanistan, it seems these seafaring versions will now be a feature of this one. Callum Watkinson, ITV News.
On to sport, and in the Football World Cup, Spain are through to the quarter-finals after thrashing Switzerland 5-1 in the first knockout round. This goal from Jennifer Hermoso sealed Spain's place in the next round. And they'll be joined in the last 8 by Japan, who beat Norway 3-1. They'll face either Sweden or the United States. Now, it's only just August, but the new season in the Scottish Premiership has already kicked off. Champions Celtic made it a winning start for returning boss Brendan Rodgers, beating Ross County 4-2. And finally, for this evening, England's women's netball team have the chance to become world champions for the first time tomorrow. The Roses have reached their first World Cup final thanks to a victory today over defending champions New Zealand in Cape Town. They'll now play 11-time champions Australia in the final. Chris Scudder has all the action and the celebrations.
46-40.
Tears and joy on and off the court. The Roses had waited a long time for this moment. England through to the World Cup final for the very first time. The fans could barely believe it. The semi-final could not have been closer. Dead level at 20 points all at the halfway point. The Silver Ferns of New Zealand would not give up their title easily. After the third quarter, the two teams could still not be separated. But the England followers believed, and with the match heading towards extra time, the Roses finally broke clear of the world champions and reached for the stars. 6 goals without reply in the final 5 minutes settled the tie. With the pressure on, New Zealand was suddenly ragged, and England knew they were counting down to a moment of history. Chris Scudder, ITV News.
Good luck to them tomorrow. And that's it for now. The weather forecast is coming up next. I'll be back with the late news. That's at 5 to 11 this evening. But from all of us here, enjoy the evening. Bye for now.
Today we'll see warmer temperatures moving in from the east, especially around tea time. Heinz now added sugar beans sponsors ITV National Weather.
Hello again. We certainly felt the effects of Storm Anthony quite widely across the country today. Better news as we head into tonight and for Sunday across the board. Showers will be easing off in the run-up to midnight, winds will die down, and tomorrow there'll be warm spells of sunshine, a much better day in prospect. Back to the next few hours, and any thunderstorms for central and southeastern areas will fade away as we go through the night. Clearer skies for many of us, 9 or 10 Celsius the overnight low, and in general winds easing down a great deal as we head into Sunday morning. Tomorrow will feel far better in comparison with Saturday. A dry start for many places, warm spells of sunshine. Showers will develop quite quickly through the day tomorrow, particularly for central areas, the Pennines, the north of England, parts of Scotland, but they could crop up anywhere through the day. There'll be more in the way of warm sunshine. It will feel better in general. Winds a good deal less brisk. 21 Celsius our top temperature tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Heinz now added sugar beans sponsors ITV National Weather.